So for the first timers out there, wanted to point out a few things that will help you out with Google Sheets, a very powerful productivity tool that can do anything from organize rows and columns to creating mathematical equations. You can use it for balancing numbers. And so our first project is an M&M data project to try to have some fun with Google Sheets, but also learn some of the functionality. So during class, everyone was given a bag of M&Ms, and we were asked to count the number of each color represented in the bag. Here is the data that we came up with after reviewing all of the bags of M&Ms. So now I'm going to just point out a few things that will help you get the completed version, which should look like this. The completed version is in color. It's sorted in alphabetical order. There's a total number for each color of M&Ms. There's a total number for each student of how many M&Ms were in their bag. There's a total number of M&Ms in the class. We then have a minimum, maximum. So that means the student who had the least amount of red or the most amount of red, the average of each color for each bag of M&Ms according to the class data, and then the percentage that each bag of M&Ms represents for each color. Finally, you would have a pie chart that shows that as well. We have a title, header here, and then some additional visual features that just kind of make it look a little bit nicer. So I'm not going to show you every step, but enough to get you probably to where you need to be. So the first thing is just getting the total column here. So I want to make the total value over in this column here. So I'm just going to type total. And I can go and change that font and everything later. But what I want to do is go here to the functions option. And there are some functions that you can choose from, one being sum. And then when sum is here, you can either type it in manually, or what is much easier is just to highlight what you want to create the sum of. So I want a sum of all of the colors from my bag of M&Ms. So I go B2 through G2. That's what this is saying right here. As I hit enter, it will total that value at 16. So there's 16 M&Ms in my bag. Now I could do that same process through all of these, but rather than have to go and click in each column, you can actually just take this square or this cell and copy that formula down, and it'll figure out the values for all of your student data. Okay. You want to do the same thing here as well to get the total number of red M&Ms. So I'm going to figure out the sum of all of these. And so there are 40 red M&Ms in the class. And then we'll go to here as well, and that'll total up each color. So I'll put total here. If I want this to look a little bit nicer, I could make this font larger, bolder. You can highlight entire columns and change the color within. So if I wanted to make this like a darker gray, maybe then make the font white and bold so it stands out a little bit more. For each color, we were trying to represent it visually as well. So you can go and do that. Some of the other functions that we use were minimum, maximum, average, and percentage. I will show you percentage just so that you can see how I do that formula. The rest you should be able to figure out on your own though. So let's go and do percentage. So percentage, I'll just type that in. And the best way to do percentage, I can take my total number of red M&Ms and divide it by the total number of M&Ms. And that's how I'll get my percentage. There, you'll notice there's some formatting options up here that we'll talk about in a second. So I'm going to do, instead of using the function key here, I can actually just type in the values that I want. So I want to equal, and then I want to use B6 16 divided by H16. And that should give me a number or a decimal, not a percentage, but I can format it as a percentage and it'll work that way. You can also change the number of decimals for each percentage as well if you want it to be more of an even number. So you could use that same format throughout to get your value. I'll do it once more so you can see. So equal sign is what signifies you're doing some sort of math. So I could just do addition, subtraction, multiplication here. And all I'm saying is I'm dividing C16 by the total, which is H16, and that gives you my percentage. Again, I have to format it properly, and it should put them in there for me. When you are ready to do your chart, you can select a row of M&Ms and go up here, a row of whatever your data is that you want, and go up here to your chart, and you can formulate a chart based on the data that you have selected. So I could do a bar graph or a column graph here. It's representing each color. This is kind of cool to show how much of a value we have for each color that's selected. Now it doesn't really show a label or anything. A lot of that you can set based on whatever chart you've selected. So if I wanted to put a title for all of this, I could put a title here. I can have a legend here that shows what I'm working with. So there's a lot of functionality, and you can also choose the type of chart as well. So if I want to do a pie chart, I could do a pie chart. I can choose the data that I want represented, and kind of go through and show all the different values included. So you won't be able to get this pie chart to work perfectly until you have all your percentages divvied out here, and then it should be working nicely for you. So the ultimate goal is to get here. There might be some trial and error to get to that point, but that's where you're headed. So best of luck.